Well, Bear, thanks for joining us on the show, man. I've got to say, I've been a fan of yours for a long time, so I'm stoked to actually have the chance to sit down and talk to you.
Cool. Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, you're heading down to Australia for this is your first Australian tour, which is pretty damn exciting, man. Like, how you
It
feel?
is, man. I'm stoked.
What are you expecting from Australia compared to other crowds around the world? What's the biggest thing in your mind that you think it's going to
Well,
go down here in Australia?
it's interesting. I mean, first of all, surprises. I'm not sure what to expect. Every This will be the third continent I've toured in 3 or 4 months, and every show, every city's been different. I just know that all my friends that have played Australia love it. Um, and actually, I mean, I've worked with some pretty amazing Australian artists on my rock record that came out last year. The guy who wrote my graphic novel is from Australia, and the guy who mixed the record is from Australia. So I feel this kinship, right? That so much of my creative life has actually had some roots there. So I'm expecting some surprises.
Are you going to catch up with them all? Are you going to try and have a beer with them while you're down
I think so. I think so, man. It's not that often I get to that side of the world, so
there?
I think they're gonna come out. Yeah,
You've been here before, right?
I've never been.
Oh,
Never
okay.
been. So every moment is gonna be a new experience for me.
Man, crazy. You bringing the family and stuff down too? You going to do
Not
tourist?
this time.
Nah.
Not this time. So it's gonna be I'm bringing, but my band is like my second family. My brother's in the band, so he's family.
And of course, Gene Hoglan as well, who I spoke to when he was here with Death Clock.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
didn't realize he was playing with you, and I was like, "Oh, you coming down?" He's like, "Yeah," which is
yeah.
super exciting.
Yeah, Gene and my bass player Pete Griffin is also in Death Clock, so they were just there a few months ago, you
Oh,
know, and they're all coming back.
man, that's exciting. That's exciting. Good for them. They get to come back again and have some
Yeah,
beer.
I think it's pretty cool, man. I think it's pretty cool.
Well, of course, man, you're known for so many great scores, like, of course, Lord of the Rings in the background there. You got Battlestar Galactica, Metalocalypse, Walking Dead, God of War. More like your list is insane. The stuff that you've worked on. Can we expect to hear some cuts from these scores live? Is that the plan?
Yeah, yeah, you can. I think I think people can expect to hear uh, a show that is loud and bombastic and epic and emotional, and anything that I've done in my scoring career that fits those adjectives is fair game for the set. So, man, I'm really excited to be able to take those ideas and combine them with a few songs from my rock record from last year and put it into something that I think will be a pretty unforgettable night.
How do you pick it? I mean, with so many scores you worked on, plus a singularity,
Yeah,
how do you pick that set list to make it sort of flow and tell its own story?
it's not easy. We've been tweaking the set for months, but then I continued to tweak it on the road. I found, as I was going, that it was reordering things. I even pulled in, I wrote new arrangements mid tour for some additional songs from some of my bigger projects that surprise people like hearing Battlestar Galactica, God of War, and Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. So I thought I'd throw in a few extra ones, which will all be in my set in Australia, and then also thinking about what performs well, like what I want to play. Like, for
Hmm.
example, I did a theme song for a show called Black Sails, and
Yes.
in that I played the hurdy gurdy, and I thought, people might want to see this beast. I think most people have not seen someone play an electric hurdy-gurdy before, and what better way to experience it than hearing the music from Black Sails. And I use it all over God of War, and I used it in a bunch of stuff. So it's really neat to be able to like think about some of the unusual instruments that I get to play, and that influences the set list too.
Because I heard somewhere, correct me if I'm wrong, that like accordion was your first. Is that correct?
I was a keyboard player first,
Keyboard for okay.
and then I went to accordion. And actually, I played trumpet growing up as well for 15 years. But I think I play 5 or 6 instruments in this tour.
Hmm.
So I'm jumping around to a bunch of different things.
Man, that's exciting. I can't wait to see it. Brisbane. I'll be in Brisbane. It's going to be so good.
Fantastic. It's going to
Yeah.
be epic, man.
Yeah, man. And of course, in regards to your album, The Singularity, it's incredible. That's how it's pronounced, right? Yeah, that's the album.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, of course.
That's-
Yeah, yeah. I'm having a morning. Bear with me. It's
Yeah,
not,
all good.
but it is a great album, man. You know, you've got Serj, you got Corey on there, and it's a big concept record as well. What came first for you? Was it like the idea of the concept, the music, or the people you wanted to work with and bring them in?
It's a great question because all three of those things are worthy candidates for a reason to make a record,
Mm.
right? Like you would think like, oh, maybe I wanted to hang out with Slash and Rufus Wainwright and Jens Kidman and Kim Thale and I'll make a record. Or I've got this great sci-fi idea, I'll make music for it. It actually was the music though that came first. I think that after 20 years of I guess at that time it was 15 years of being a professional composer for film, television, and video games. I had gotten really good at having a story handed to me, and then I write music for that story. And I think finally my brain was like, you gotta shake things up here. So I started writing songs that I just wanted to hear. And the songs came first. And I put them together into this massive kind of double record. And I started listening to it. I was working on it with my brother, Brendan McCreary, who was writing a bunch of the lyrics and singing. And then I realized it kind of hit me like a bolt of lightning. Like there's a story in here. Like I'm so inherently narrative. That's what makes me excited about art and music. So then I got together with a friend of mine, an Australian named Matt Groom, brilliant comics writer who's written for everybody, and played him the record and started working with him to make a story. And then we brought in all these artists, visual artists, and put out a comic book, a graphic novel that Image Comics put out. And the crazy thing is that it was music first. So for the first time in my career, I got to tell a narrative writer, no, you can't do that because the music does this. So you got to follow my music, which you can imagine was extremely cathartic for me.
So how'd you get all the other guys on board? Did you just put out the bat signal and everyone came to play, or did you have everyone in mind as you were writing it?
I definitely have always had that sort of dream list. I think every musician has a dream list of people they'd love to work with.
Yes.
I started writing, and I have a number of friends, and I've had for a long time in the rock and metal community, even though I didn't consider myself a rock or metal artist at that time. Feel like I earned my merit badge at this point, but I played it for them. Brendan Small from Death Clock was one of the first people I played the demos for. Serj Tankian from System of a Down, Scott Ian from Anthrax, Gene Hoglan, also from Death Clock and Strapping Young Lad. These are people that I knew well enough that I thought, all right, they're my friends. If my songs suck, they'll tell me. They'll tell me to hang it up, man. You don't have this. And instead, everybody was really encouraging, really enthusiastic. Everybody wanted to get on board and do something. And that's when it started hitting me like, oh wow, like I could have a record with Brendan Small on it, or Serj Tankian. And then I just started, maybe the bat signal, the bear signal, I don't know. I started asking people that I know if they knew other people, and just started, reaching out. I randomly bumped into Rufus Wainwright at the Sundance Film Festival in Utah, and saw him give a little performance, and just went up and talked to him, like that. So it came together very organically. I promise you that when I started writing these songs, I had no ambition of ever having a roster of guest musicians, anything like this. It started from a very cathartic place. I had something I wanted to say as an artist,
Mm.
and as a film composer, you have all these very wonderful restrictions put on you, but you don't get to do whatever you want. And I think I wanted to know, if I could do whatever I want, what would it be? And the answer was the Singularity, and all these people came on board.
Man, it's so good. I love how I got goosebumps with you telling me how that all just creatively just unfolded. Because it doesn't really get to happen that way very often, you know? Like,
It's very rare. You don't see records like this come out very often, and I think the only way to do it is either have a gazillion dollars, or you have what I had, which is just so much passion about it
mm,
that people enjoy working with you. And when people enjoy working with you, they'll tell their friends, "Hey, check this guy out." I mean, I'll give you one anecdote. Is like when I reached out to Slash, who I did not know. I reached out to him through Scott Ian, and I sent Scott this track. It was called "The End of Tomorrow," one of the biggest songs on the record. And I asked him if he would send it to Slash, because I knew they were pals. Slash listened to it. He loved the song. That's great, but it's not enough. He wrote to Scott and he just said, "What's this guy like to work with?" That's all he needed to know. And Scott said, "He's great. He's cool. You'll have fun." And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. Slash and I got along famously, and he ended up on a second track on the record just because we enjoyed working with each other. So, but it's, you know what I mean? Like, it was just sort of this, it was so fun making music with him. And I think he had fun. And that's why we did it. And I think you can hear that in the record, that everybody doing this was doing it because it was fun.
so have you got plans for a follow-up or maybe even turning that into a film or a series or anything like that?
Interesting, like you'd mentioned. I mean, I'm tinkering with some ideas.
Yeah.
I'm not done with this medium and this genre. My heroes in the concept album world are Pink Floyd. And there's no better example than The Wall,
Whoa.
which did what you're describing. It went from a concept record to a film.
Yep.
I'm not actively developing anything like that for the Singularity, but I am definitely keeping the door open as I work on other projects, to see where else it can go. I do think the cool thing about having the premise of the Singularity being so vast, of the premise of the graphic novel is
Hmm.
so sort of universe encompassing, that I can do a lot of things under the umbrella of the Singularity if I so choose. So we'll see what the future holds.
Is there anyone that you'd want to bring in? Like, is there a vocalist that you haven't worked with?
That list is extensive.
How much time you got, Neff? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that list goes on and on and on. And I'm working on it, man. I'm chipping away at that list. I'm pretty excited right now.
Man, that's awesome. Of course, you're a metal dude. You're one of us.
Yeah.
Where did that start for you? Like, and how does that work into your work as a composer?
I started off as a fan of film music. That's all I listened to from the ages of 5 to like 13, 14, 15, even maybe. I listened to John Williams, Jerry Goldsmith, Elmer Bernstein, Danny Elfman, Alan Silvestri, Basil Polidorus, James Horner. That was it. Ennio Morricone. That was it. And I grew up at the epicenter of the grunge movement in Seattle in the early 90s. Didn't listen to any of that stuff at the time. I started getting into rock in high school. I think it was through movies. I discovered Queen when I saw Highlander. I discovered Pink Floyd when I saw The Wall. I discovered Guns N' Roses when I saw Terminator 2, and I was like, this stuff is cool. Wait a minute. What is this? And started to explore it. And the harder the music got, the more I really enjoyed it. I will say though, how I got into metal specifically is sort of oddly, in hindsight, hilarious to me, because I was watching Metalocalypse and I became friends with Brendan Small, and Brendan Small took me out to dinner with Scott Ian from Anthrax, and this was sort of toward the end of Battlestar Galactica, maybe 2008. And Scott Ian is a big fan of Battlestar Galactica, And over a glass of wine, Scott looks me in the eye and he goes, "Now you must be a metalhead." And I went, "What? What? What makes you say that?" And he goes, "I mean, I've heard Battlestar Galactica. I'm hearing what you're doing with those drums. And I think every time those drums come up, I'm like, this is a man who loves Sepultura."
Oh, nice.
And I went, "Oh, okay, thanks. Okay, Scott, sure." I'd never heard Sepultura. Then I go home that night and I listen to Roots. I'm blown away. Scott Ian knows me better than I know myself. Right? Like, I'm suddenly like, wait a minute, what is this? Scott is right. And it triggered this deep dive into metal. And around that time, I started hanging around, really right around that exact same time, I was hanging out with Serj Tankian. He invited me to see System. I had heard their hits, but like I just hadn't done the deep dive yet. I'd spent the first, 25, 30 years of my life just doing film music. And for me, metal and film music are the same thing. Like the same dopamine rush happens when I hear this like an amazing John Williams cue is when I listen to System of a Down. So for me, it was like, oh, this is like chocolate and peanut butter. You just put them together. Like, this is perfect. I love this. And 15 years later, I put out a metal record.
And it's so good. I love that. I love that story. I love it. But how do you find that affects your work moving forward now that you've unlocked that part of yourself? Like, do you
fairly obviously, I put a death metal song in the Lord of the Rings, The Ring of Power, right? Like I'm watching a scene in the Lord of the Rings and I see this troll come out and I'm like, I want to hear Meshuggah right now. That's what I want to hear. And I called the producers and I was like, hey, I'm friends with the Meshuggah guy, Jens. What if we just had him? And they were like, okay. So yeah, man. I mean, it's definitely seeped into my brain, but the truth is it was already there. Scott Ian was right. When I go back and listen to Battlestar Galactica and I hear those taiko drums, I'm like, that's a riff, man. That's like it's heavy, and I always like that gravity in music. So I really I'm always looking for places to mix and match. I did a show called Masters of the Universe with Kevin Smith on Netflix. That was essentially Metallica meets Basil Polidoris's Conan the Barbarian soundtrack. Like who wouldn't want to hear that, right?
Yes.
So that was fun. I mean, I love doing that stuff.
I was actually going to ask you that because I love that score. Look, man, I don't know if you can see, but I'm surrounded by that shit. Like I got Skeletor and everyone up here.
Oh, that's rad, dude. Well, I'll tell you when he called me, we had a meeting. And he was like, "Hey man, I'm making this." He's one of my favorite directors, right? I mean, I spent the '90s and the early aughts just watching everything this guy made. And he goes, "I'm making," and He-Man was like my jam growing up. Like I am of the age, Yeah. So I was like, "Oh my god!" But Kevin said, "I want you to do this show," and I said, "Kevin, there's only one way I'll do it. I have a condition." And he was like, kind of taken aback that I'd have never done this in a meeting, right? Never. And he goes, well, what is it? And I said, the score needs to sound like Metallica co-wrote Conan the Barbarian with Basil Polidoris. And if that doesn't sound fun to you, I'm not the guy for your show. And then he started singing the theme from Conan the Barbarian right in front of me. And I started singing it with him and we sang it together for like a full minute. And then I looked at him and I was like, all right, I'll do your show.
Man, that's wild.
That was fun.
That is wild. That is wild. Man, of course, what is the difference for you between working video games, film, TV? Like, how do you approach them different? Is there a difference between the way you work on them?
In what matters, there's no difference. In what matters, there is no difference because fundamentally my job is to make you feel something. I need to figure out what the producers or game developers or director or showrunner or studio wants. And then I convert that into something that makes you feel something. Are there technical differences? Many. And there are things I love about games and television and movies, and I'm even working on a musical aiming for Broadway. It's the same deal. It's all this. It's like, oh, there's a lot of differences in the ways it works. However, fundamentally, I got to write something that you remember, something that makes you feel something, something that has a great tune. And those are the core fundamentals that I think all my music. I'd like to think all my music has in common.
Talking about stuff that moves you. Like for me, one of my favorite pieces of music, it's only like short, but it's in Alien 3. The
One of
Ripley,
the greatest scores of the 90s,
dude.
one of the greatest horror scores ever. I cite this. And I'll just say, like, I'll be working with somebody and I'll just be like, we're gonna Elliot Goldenthal this, okay? Here it goes. That score is just massive and disorienting and emotional and beautiful and horrifying. Just I love it. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go
No,
ahead.
no, 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 no. But I was just gonna say because that there's that piece, the Ripley death scene piece, how it rises.
Yep.
That makes me.
Da, 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 da. It's just like, oh my God. So great. So great.
Breaks me, fucking wrecks me. I remember seeing it at the movies, and I was like probably 10 years old. And when that came up, my mother told
Yeah.
me like, "You're right," and I'm like, "Ugh." If even now when I hear it, it fucking destroys me, and it's only this short. Do you
Yeah.
have a piece of music that affects you the same way?
I mean, that's one of them. I have hundreds that are all kind of from that, maybe not hundreds, but I'd say a good 50 that are like so ingrained in my DNA that I just hear a little snippet of it. Um the Star Trek: The Motion Picture by Jerry Goldsmith has three or four of these moments. I mean, any film is lucky to have one. Um, these colors or these themes, it just they're so it's so emotional and it takes you back to this place. Conan the Barbarian really is, that's a score that does that for me. Um, God, there's so many, and they're precious to me. It's funny how I still go back to them, right? Like people have written great horror scores, uh, obviously for the last 30 years. But when I'm working, like when I did a movie called The Last Voyage of the Demeter
Oh,
about Dracula, and
yeah.
I'm telling you, we talked about Alien 3 more often than any other film score because every time I would come to it and it's like when I'm seeing these bloody kills or the somebody walking and you see the monsters right around the corner, it's like I want to feel the way I felt when I was, I think I was 12, right about your age, right when
Yeah, yeah.
Alien 3 came out, and it's like that's what I want. I want to make you feel that way. So for me, I'm going to think about Alien 3 as I write something vastly inferior to Alien 3.
Nah, man. No, you nailed it. You
It
nailed
was
it.
a fun one. That was a really fun one.
Man, I like that you quoted back. Actually, the jam on Alien 3 was that was that theme. Thank you. That's
Yeah,
never
yeah, yeah.
happened on this show. But man, I love it. Of course, what's next for you, dude? What's coming up?
A lot of stuff's percolating. A lot of it I can't talk about just yet. But I mean, there's definitely like video game, film, television stuff in the works. I am working on a musical aiming for Broadway called Particle Fever that is about the discovery of the Higgs boson at the Large Hadron Collider at CERN in Switzerland.
Hectic.
Yes, it's about particle physics. I've been working on this for 7 or 8 years, so we are in the home stretch on that one. So I'm really, really excited about that. Um, I'm working on the Outlander spinoff, Blood of My Blood, Foundation season 3, Percy Jackson season 2 and 3, and then there's a bunch of other cool stuff I can't say yet, but I'm keeping busy, man. I'm a busy little bee.
How the hell do you do? I don't understand. Like, how does your brain do all that at once? I can't even brush my. I can't even do this. Like, how?
I do thrive in the multitasking. I find it refreshing. Um, like I can work on 3 TV shows. If it's like, I remember when I was working on Agents of Shield, Walking Dead, and Outlander at the same time for like 7 years.
Wow.
And yet they're so different. I'm not going to accidentally put bagpipes in The Walking Dead, right? So although I might intentionally have done it, like, but you know what I mean? Like, but if I were doing like 3 cop shows or 3 lawyer shows, it would be like, I feel like that would actually be exhausting for me. The
Mm.
switching of gears is sort of exciting and inspiring. And look, man, I mean, I'm so lucky to work on things that are inspiring and exciting. Um, I mean, when I watch these things, it's like my brain starts firing off immediately. You know, I mean, I'm working on the new season of Rings of Power right now, and it's it's like I just wish there were more hours in the day. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
I wake up before my alarm. I'm so excited to get in here and keep working. So I think I feel, even though it's a lot of work and it sounds stressful, and it is, it also is rejuvenating in a way that makes it possible for me.
Absolutely inspiring, dude.
Hey, thanks,
Absolutely
man.
inspiring. Man, incredible. And I love your work. Man, I can't wait to see you on this tour. It's going to be fucking incredible. It's going to be so amazing seeing you,
Brad, dude.
the boys, and everyone up there. Um, I hope it goes really well for the whole thing, but I'll be seeing you in Brisbane, brother. We'll have all the links down here. Bear, thank you so much for hanging, dude, and we'll see you soon.
Right on. Take care.